Ciao, hi, hey guys, it's your boy M.K.S here, back in another video. Welcome to the third and penultimate, part of how to make Italian football world class, football, soccer, or whatever you want to call it. What was I going to say? Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Not doing too well. That's not a good start, is it? I thought I'd make one more video. Sorry, that's what I was going to say. I thought I'd make one more video before I go for my shower. I normally have my shower late. Excuse me, it's 11:15 here in the UK on the 21st of Jan. Anyway, I saw in an article, I saw on YouTube recently about, and I've seen it a few times actually, but they discussed whether Lionel Messi has autism, and I thought it's quite interesting. Like they said, he could have like Asperger's syndrome or whatever you want to call it nowadays, ASD or whatever. And I thought it reminds me of something a little bit non-football related, kind of, but about I thought. No, I'm not trying to think too much about the neurodiversity stuff at the moment, but I thought potentially, Elon Musk says he has Asperger's syndrome or again ASD or whatever you want to call it. Bill Gates said he's probably autistic, or if he was growing up today, he'd be diagnosed with autism, possibly, more than likely, or whatever. Where's that effect? He'd probably be diagnosed with autism. I think it's what his exact words or whatever. And I thought, and Warren Buffett, I've read that people say he might be. There's a point to this, I promise. They say he might be autistic, like he has an autistic like focus on investing, and he seems a bit like an autistic savant, perhaps as well, maybe. And Mark Zuckerberg, perhaps. They all have quirky traits. I mean, it could be they're introverts, or it could be they have some other condition, or it could be that they don't have any condition. They're just very focused on their business. Like there's another one called Bill Gross, who apparently turned a $2,000 investment into a company worth, that's not his net worth, but a company worth $2 trillion or whatever, supposedly. And I think Lionel Messi, going back to the football thing, obviously, Lionel Messi being a footballer, although it's kind of at the end of his cycle, apparently I think he has Italian and Spanish roots, just like most Argentinians, or certainly a lot of Argentinians. But I thought it'd be quite interesting because, like, I thought I'd give that anecdote, if that's the right word. Like in the past, I thought I thought about it for business. Like, is there something to do with Asperger's, a type of autism where people can really focus, and it's what they call high functioning autism. I didn't understand what that meant before. I think high functioning means someone who can function in daily life, and you wouldn't tell they're autistic, but they do have strange traits which. I was going to say just like me. Unfortunately, I don't have a high IQ like those people, but I wish I did, I've got to admit. But I wish I could be like Bill Gates and Elon Musk put together, if I'm honest, or even many of those people put together. But unfortunately, I don't have much of a brain myself, but I do have a lot of ideas. But I thought maybe there's something in obsession, like what if Lionel Messi did have that type of thing, and those entrepreneurs, just as I thought about it with entrepreneurship, what if it could be like for other areas like football or whatever autistic people focus on, have a hyper focus. But sadly, I think him and his family have denied it, and apparently he took a test on Messi and found he doesn't have autism, but some say his traits are a bit more like just introverted, and he's a bit different. But some of his quirks, they said, were a bit sort of strange, the way he stood and moved a bit like me probably in some ways, although I'm unfortunately nowhere near as good as football, unfortunately. But I do wonder if there's obsessions, and it could be in football, or it could be in other sports, or it could be in business, it could be in tech, or it could be in different areas. They're normally a certain type of areas. They're normally one sort of area or whatever, often in things like tech. But I don't know if you find that interesting, but I thought I'd cover something a bit different to try and think of different things to cover, because I know I'm a creature of habit and certain numbers remind me of certain things or whatever. But I wonder what you think about that, and whether he did take an autism test, or whether his family just feels it's embarrassing for some reason. Like, he's pretty much one of the best players in the world. It's almost, I don't think anyone would argue that he's not one of the best soccer or football players in history. So I think he doesn't have anything to be ashamed of. If anything, it's an inspiration if he is indeed autistic. But I went into that in quite a lot of detail. But the reason why I mentioned that, obviously, I thought about that in business when I was thinking about like a neurodivergent business network or whatever, including autistic, and I just thought it's quite interesting. I thought so anyway. Some strange interests or whatever, like my fascination with playing Monopoly, my fascination with business and how business works, or whatever it might be. I know some people say like males are kind of a bit off track, but they say males are all on the spectrum. I don't think that's quite true. But yeah, they say like we have a one-track mind, or we and that kind of thing, or whatever. I think of just one or two things. But yeah, I think with autistic people, it's probably like a massive obsession. But yeah, I wonder if it could be good for football. The reason why I mention that is I often say like that neurodivergent people showing what we could do for, in this case, Italian football, hopefully in Celtic especially as well. Although I'm not diagnosed as far as I'm aware with autism. But yeah, it would be interesting if I had ADHD, autism, dyslexia, dyspraxia, and possibly dyscalculia. Like I had a whole collection of neurodivergent conditions. But anyway, sorry, onto the list. I did think I try not to apologise too much when doing some of my videos, but these are pointers number 21 to 30. Sorry if I did waffle there, but so here goes. So number 21, as I say, Lionel Messi would be quite an inspirational character for autistic people. I wonder what autistic and ADHD and dyslexic and basically generally neurodivergent people do, for example. I'd love to see Italian football, or again soccer, or whatever you want to call it, connecting with its diaspora, like people of Italian descent all over the world, following and supporting, investing into, and even donating to Italian footy. Again, soccer, or whatever. Considering I'm talking about the diaspora, obviously in America, Canada, and places like that. I think even Canada uses the term soccer. But like when Italy wins things like the Euros, not that happens very often, unfortunately, but when Italy does win the Euros and the World Cup, again, unfortunately, it happens not so often, but I like it to happen more often. As I say, I'd love to see it improve. But the celebrations are quite big in places like America, but certainly in Canada, I think they seem to celebrate quite a lot. But I'd love to see more Italian, Canadians, Argentinians, Brazilians, Americans, Australians, and whatnot, and people from the diaspora all over the world, like following and supporting Italian teams in Serie A, and hopefully the more people follow and support Serie A teams in Italian football, hopefully the more the brand value will grow, which will mean more investment, and also they could invest into it and donate to Italian football to have more academies and things like that, and maybe donate to Italian clubs to buy better players, but also to develop their academies. Again, hope that benefits the Italian national team and club and country. So I just had a strange imagination of like a spider falling scene. I don't know why. That's why I was looking up there. So, but yeah, I'd love to see how them connect with the diaspora, and once again, like have a quest to make Italian football great again, Italian soccer great again. Sorry for that term. I know again, but I know Donald Trump says that, and it's like he's a controversial character, but to borrow that term, I'm not pro or anti-MAGA or whatever. I'm sure people have different reasons for being MAGA or against MAGA or whatever, but I make America great. But in this case, I'd love to make Italian soccer great, whatever your political leanings are, from a selfish point of view, and to bring back the glory days. And that, I think, number 22, I mentioned about, I was going to say this in point number 21 to recap, but I thought I'd say in point 22, looking to the future, seeing what they can do and learning. I mentioned about, again, normally I like to say in point number 21 because I say 21 again, so recapping and that kind of thing, but hence why I talk about connecting with the diaspora, connecting with their roots, connecting to their roots through soccer or whatever you want to call it, and also talking about make Italian soccer great again, that kind of thing, and the glory days of Italian soccer. Could we bring that back? But hopefully do even better in the future. I say, like, I think it'd be cool if Italy became the first country in the world to win like 3 or even 4 World Cups in a row. I think that would be pretty amazing. Excuse me. But basically, I'd love to see Italy win the most World Cups, most importantly. Again, I do wonder if I do have that autistic obsession or whatever. And I suppose with my patterns and numbers, even though I'm not that good at maths, that could be an autistic trait, or maybe not, I don't know, maybe it's my own way of organising things or whatever. So I'm not sure if it's just a coincidence or it could be an autistic sort of thing, as my mum says. about me. Or maybe I'm just mad, and that's, or maybe it's a combination of things. But I talked about like um, how in, I think it's Dubai, they have like a thing where you can buy a part of the world, so to speak, not literally, but an island that represents a part of the world or whatever, something like that. So I'd love to see designers compete to see who can design the best uh, stadiums, especially youth development stadiums, academies, and that kind of thing for Italian football. Um, and also those who could help to fund it the most and that kind of thing. And number 23, I'd love to see as much funding as possible, any legal sources of funding for Italian footy. And maybe people can compete to see who can invest the most, who can donate the most, and whatnot. Hopefully, companies will see it as being good for their PR to invest into and or sponsor that, and hopefully it will provide good ROI, return on investment. Again, maybe neurodiverse people, businesses in Italy, and others could talk about ways to make Italian football more attractive towards investors and sponsors, and also provide good PR and also a good return on investment. Once again, like if Italy gets as many supporters as possible around the world, then I guess sponsors will see that it's a better investment, a better bet to invest in. And I'd also love to see Italian football, again, I mentioned this before, but to be tax exempt and for Italy to offer access to Italian markets in return for investing in Italian football. And look into, once again, all the legal ways to attract investment and sponsorship and basically get funding, money, and that kind of thing. And hopefully do a lot of good for charity. But um, um, I'd love to see, yeah, neurodiverse people could probably think of out of the box all the possible ways to attract investment and sponsorship and basically money, funding, and that kind of thing for Italian football. Um, Number 24, I'd love to see the country come together. I know I mentioned that in part one, but to see all of Italy come together to get behind the team, to cheer the team on in the World Cup, chant for the team, and all sort of get behind the team for the World Cup and um, come together for the benefit of Italian football, discussing ideas and ways to improve it constantly. And Italians to play football for at least an hour a day, each and every single day, 365 days a year. I think it's the number 24, so you can't play 24 hours, but playing for as long as possible, as many hours a day as possible. Having autistic like obsession, even perhaps you could say. Not sure why I chose to think of the theme of autism, but yeah, that's a sort of obsession, or even like ADHD and having lots of energy and funneling that, channeling that into something positive. By playing football, and looking at football can bring people together. Maybe working with like the World Health Organization and others to get more investment. I don't know if they could get sponsorship and investment from the IMF because um, I guess normally the IMF puts people into debt. But I wonder if there's a way like banks and even the IMF and the World Bank and organisations like that could donate to Italian football, maybe in return for Italy, like tackling issues like global warming / climate change and things like that, and tackling poverty and that kind of thing. I don't trust like I don't know if I should say this, but I don't trust organisations like the UN or whatever. But maybe they could win my trust by supporting Italian football and that kind of thing. I know I talked about like divesting away from, like encouraging companies to divest away from wars and the weapons trade and investing in Italian football instead. And Celtic and that kind of thing. Number 25, I'd love for Italy to host many events like Mediterranean Republic and Tricolor events, bringing Mediterranean nations, Tricolor countries, bringing Mediterranean nation republics and Tricolor nations. Again, that's another part of my pattern I say, like, because Mediterranean Republic and Tricolor, like Mr. T, MRT. So, yeah, I know I'm mad, but to host those events again, like they could have the Mediterranean Cup, Republic Cup, the Tricolor Cup, and tourneys, as I call them, like tournaments like that, which, especially at youth level, could help them to practice more against teams from different countries. And I hope that, I suppose I could say in point number 24, but I'd love to see Italian teams, especially including like academies, junior teams, park teams, school teams, and basically young people, especially from all over Italy being invited to Qatar, Dubai, UAE, China, India, Saudi Arabia, America, and all over the world, Argentina, Brazil, parts of Latin America and whatnot. Travel companies could help sponsor that travel and things like that to play football all over the world. And number 26, another quirky idea of mine is like the Roman Empire Cup, which could be Italy's answer to or equivalent of the Commonwealth, and they can play football in soccer, or whatever you want to call it, in former colonies like Eritrea, Tunisia, Ethiopia, and other parts of like the Roman Empire, and maybe give back to those countries, but they could still sort of benefit. Which reminds me of like someone told me a while back, like Microsoft gets sued by Apple for stealing some of their ideas, like because they make so much money, they don't mind paying like $1 million a day, or something like that. If I got the story right, but also someone was saying like even when they got in trouble, they were trying to find ways to make money from these vouchers or something. I don't know if I understood the story correctly, but Italy could be giving back but still benefit. Like those countries could still help to Italians to practice and play football. So it'd be unfair, but shows I'm not always as fair as I like to be. As much as I try and be as. I hope that made sense. I know it's very quirky, out of the box thinking of me. But number 27, I love for those awards ceremonies. I'm going to talk more about that on Tuesday, all being well. God willing and Godspeed. So I'm going to say that instead of touch wood. But yeah, I'm going to talk more about that on Tuesday, I think, hopefully all being well again. So I won't go into too much detail right now. But another thing is actually, come to think that I'd love to see Italian teams, along with Celtic, like giving away 10% of all the revenue, and maybe the international community to allow the Italian government to offer tax exemptions and incentives for investing in Italian football. So FIFA and UEFA could allow that, hopefully, and the international community. As I said before, I'd love to see Italy be like the Swiss version of football, or for football. So like people keep their money in Switzerland, which stays neutral in wars and that kind of thing. But I'd love for Italy to do that through football instead of like banking and business. So companies could offset their taxes through football, hopefully, through soccer and that kind of thing. But yeah, I'd love to see Italy give 10% of its revenue, or even profits. I suppose revenue would be more actually. 10% of its revenue to charity, and also any prize money it wins. And I'd love to see loads of sponsorship for Serie A and the Coppa Italia and the Super Cup, the Italian Super Cup. But yeah, that could all go to charity, and I think that would make neutrals want to see Italian teams do well. So if an Italian team wins the Conference League, Europa League, and so-called Champions League, and so-called World Club Cup, and so-called UEFA Super Cup, then a lot of money would go to charity. And I'd love for sponsors to match that. Similar with Celtic as well. Like so, each trophy Celtic win, the more trophies Celtic win, the more they'd be able to give to charity, and also the more revenue the club gets, the more it go to good causes. So hopefully that would be neutrals basically would support Italian football and Celtic. I'm hoping. Maybe I'm being naive as usual, but moving on, number 28, I hope they can turn negative situations into positives. Number 29, I love for neurodivergent, Anglo-Indian and other Eurasian, and even people with mental health problems, people to go to play football in Italy and share our ideas and help young Italians to practice their football, hopefully in the safest way possible. I mean, some people with mental health problems it might not be possible because they might be a bit more dangerous, or I know that people say, like, when they raise awareness of mental health problems, certainly in this country, I don't know if other countries do it the same way, but they say like positive about people with mental health problems, and they say to raise awareness, and they say people with mental health problems are not necessarily dangerous to other people. In fact, we're more of a danger to ourselves, as someone who suffers with mental health problems myself. So I know there's a stereotype that mentally ill people could be dangerous, but which may be true in some cases, people with schizophrenia or paranoia or whatever. But in many cases, hopefully, football could be an outlet to improve the situation for people with depression. It could be something to focus on, and people with schizophrenia or paranoia. And if it's done in a safe environment, hopefully they can have a purpose through playing football. Again, maybe I'm being naive, but certainly I love to see Anglo-Indians and other Eurasians playing football in Italy. And yeah, people with mental health problems showing what we can do for Italian football, and Anglo-Indians, Eurasians, and neurodivergent people. And number 30, I know I support it with a bias. And I'm going to end on this point that I saw clips on YouTube of like the dirtier side of the Milan derby, like fights, fouls, and tackles. I'm not really into it. Like when people fight on the pitch, I find that really annoying. I just want them to play football and not get into fights. But I know my mum's boyfriend here said the opposite. Like he loves it when they have that drama. I don't know why. I find that really annoying. But that's more for like boxing or rugby. I'm not into those sorts of sports. Being a bit of a softie myself, but I thought I'd end on that. It's like 30 miles a day. So anyway, I'm out and peace and love.